welcome to this session on React dependencies and styling our application. So in the last one, we were able to complete all the basic structural functionalities of our Todoist application. And in this one, we'll see how to add some little styling. So I'll be doing a very minimalistic styling guide in order to introduce yourself to something called Material UI. So we'll be mostly working with the inclusion of some icons in order to, and a little bit of animated icon so that we can make this Todoist application look much better. So that will be our agenda. And let's see what I'm talking about inside this sandbox. So this is the initial one. Although this is almost exactly the same one where we left in the previous session, but make sure to have your own copy of this starter code, because in this I have changed some styling in styles.css. and also if you see in this create area version, not in create area, let me see where I had, yeah, and here one class name I have also added. So make sure to have this copy of the sandbox. Don't use the previous one. All right. So since we have completed the most functionalities, let's add some style to this application. All right. So in this completed version, after all the additions and deletions done, we'll have our icons. As you can see, we have an icon here like this. And if you can see in here, instead of that add text, we have an icon here. And if you hover over this, you can see there is a little animation associated with this icon as well. Now, if I try to add some note here, like this, you'll be able to see that instead of that delete text coming here as a button, we are able to see a delete icon like this. And its functionality is basically all the same. So these are the little additions that, or let's say stylings, that we'll be adding to our previously built Todoist application. And now let's see how we can do this. So first I'll fork out my copy of this in order to have two versions of this. Now we'll be using some pre-built components to add these effects by adding some dependencies. Okay. And in order to add these dependencies in your sandbox, so you have two options. One is to add all these dependencies beforehand, and the other one is when you apply them inside your project, then Code Sandbox will automatically suggest you that, okay, for the X line of code that you have used, this particular dependency is missing. So click here and add it. So what I mean by this is, basically, if we try to add it, maybe some of these might, what should I say, might be left, but don't worry, you'll see what I mean. So the number one is this MUI, which is Material UI, icons material. We'll be adding this dependency, and we'll be adding this Material UI / material dependency. And if you click here on this add dependencies, you'll be able to see that they have been added. They'll be added right here. If you are doing this, if you're attempting this locally on your system, then you have to install these by the usage of npm. All right. So if you can head over here in this package, and we are talking about Material UI core. So by the usage of this notation, you'll be able to add it in your local system if you are working on this locally. So what is Material UI? Material UI are basically React components that are pre-built for us to use them directly. All right. And to customize our app. So in here, if you head over to their website on MUI core materialui.com, and inside components, if we head over to icons, you'll be able to see this is their guide to icons. Now, what do we have in these icons is we have an option of simply importing them like this, like the way we import our React modules. We can simply import that X name of that icon from the path. And then if you see in their source code, for example, if we talk about this delete icon, you can see that after adding this material UI as a dependency in your project, if you simply import this delete icon, and then you will be able to use it just like this, just like any other custom React component that we have been using. So the way that we have seen that we have created some external React component and then we import it somewhere like this, and then we make use of it like this, making it or considering as a custom React component. In the same way, these icons can also be used. So now if we head over back to our sandbox, the first thing that we'll try to do is we'll try to update this add button of ours. We want to change it to this plus icon. So this add is actually located inside create area. You can see in here. Now, in order to search for any such icons, you can head over here, and if you head over to this link, you'll see that they have a complete dedicated page in which you are provided with the functionality of searching for these icons. So for example, right now we are looking for a plus sign. So in the search bar, if I write add or plus depending on whatever you want, you can see that if I click on this first button that is coming, so it is simply a big plus sign, and in order to have it integrated inside your project or to simply import it, you have to copy this particular line of code. So you can see, you can just click here and this gets copied. Heading back to your sandbox, you can paste it along with these importing of these React modules, and then now simply you can use this add icon. Now there are some errors here, just ignore them for a minute. And then if you come here, instead of this add button, what I will do now is I will use this as a custom React component, as you can see here. So there are several little packages or these dependencies that might be left, and if you're using Code Sandbox, then there's nothing to be worried of. You can just click on this and it will add that particular dependency, whatever is required in order to make your line of code function. Okay, like this, add this one as well, and we'll keep seeing if there are any n number of dependencies that are required to make this line work. You can simply click on over this and it will work. So let's try to open it inside a new window, and even if here you look, that plus icon is coming now. All right, you can see here. So the functionality of this remains the same. Now there's one more thing left in here, and that is that this plus icon of yours is not showing that animation. All right, so for that there is something called fab. Okay, so when we talk about fab, this is actually short for floating action button. Okay, and this comes along with material UI package, and if you can see in here, so this is nothing but you can use this sort of a round button that have a hovering effect if you put your cursor over it. Now in order to add this fab in your project, you have to simply copy this from the material UI website and we have to paste it inside create area only. Now this fab is actually behaves like a button, if you see. So you can see an icon in the center, regular and extended, and this actually behaves like a button. So what we need to do is, if you can see, like here, they are using this fab as a tag, all right, like the way we use button tags or input tags. So this fab is used as a replacement of a button, because we at this point we just are not wanting this to be an icon. We want it to be a button. We want it to be clickable. All right, you can see this little animation. So similarly, what we'll do in here is we will replace this button tag with fab with the capital F and small ab. Similarly here, if I replace this with fab and I save it, now you'll see that the particular animation is now coming along with this plus button. And if I try to add something, you can see that it is working just as before. So the next thing that you can see in this is, if I add something, there is this delete icon coming, but in our application there is this delete text coming. So the next thing that we'll do is we'll head over to the node.jsx, and in here you see this delete text is there. So we'll again head over to this searching page and we'll try to look for an icon, for example, by searching trash. And I think this one looks good. So we can click over this and you can see this is called delete icon. Just copy the path, paste it along with the React modules that you are importing, and copy the name of this icon, and then we'll use it as a custom React component, just like that. If you hit save, and now if you try to write some title and then some content, you can see that instead of that delete coming here, this delete icon is now coming, and this makes your website looks much more attractive and much more intuitive. Because as of now we were just talking about a single word statements, but what if you're using something that will require you to spell it out in two separate words, so it will look very ugly, and also these icons look good as well. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is add this little icon here. All right, so before we do that, in order to have this icon and this heading text appear together on the top left, even though if we want we can move that this tick icon in here as well by using our simple CSS stylings, but I tried it out and I found out that this looks much better rather than having both of them in the center. So how do we move this header text from center back to the top left region? So if you head over to styles.css, and since this is the header part, and if you see this particular part where we are talking about header h1, you'll see that we have a line called text align center, and this is actually the line that is causing this header text to fall on center. So if I comment it out like this and I save it, so let us refresh this now. Okay, you can see that this header text of ours is now successfully coming on the top left. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is, inside header we want this icon to come along with this Todoist header text. So if we come here, and for example if we try to search for a tick icon, you'll get this done outline in which we have this correct sign along in which this outer borders are there. So simply by clicking we'll be able to copy this, similar to the previous two icons. We'll import it like this, and in here we can simply use it as custom React component. And if we save it, now one thing is left, that in here, this icon is the same color as this one, which is white, but in here we are able to see that this icon of ours is actually in black in color. So remember, since we are able to use them as custom React components, that means whatever knowledge we have learned about React components, we'll be able to apply them to these as well. So we'll be using inline CSS styling. So remember, first we'll have to use styles equals to whatever logic that we write inside these, and then every style that we apply should come as these key value pairs as if we are using an object. So this outer these braces, they represent that we are writing some logic inside, and these braces actually represent that we are writing key value pairs of an object. So we'll simply mention the color key to be white in this case, and you can see that it is now transformed exactly similar to what we hope to achieve. Now in here, some of you might have noticed that initially when this icon was not there, let me show you by commenting this out. Then this header was taking a little less space, but when this icon was included, it actually pushed this text one row below, and then it came like this. So we can obviously make this either here or on the side or below, and even make these header text and this icon come at the center as well. But for this session, I just wanted to introduce you only to this material UI package. All right, so I'm leaving this sort of an open-ended sandbox for you to go around and have fun with it, play around with it. Make sure to visit this documentation, and from in here you'll be able to find several let's say tools in order to implement some stylings as well as some functionalities. For example, you'll be able to apply some little animations. What happens if this page loads up for the first time? Do we have some animation associated with this title box? What happens if these notes are coming? So you can see right now they're coming just abruptly like this. So you'll be able to apply some animation to them as well. For example, if they appear, they should come a little sliding or that faded animation, whatever you want. But my approach was to have a very minimalistic styling guide, to just want you to get an introduction with this material UI package. And this is a very, very huge toolbox for many developers out there, so that you know how there are these n number of such pre-built packages out there that you can directly add to your code and start working. Okay, now there's one little thing that you might have noticed along with this, that if you keep adding these little notes of ours, and if we refresh this page like this, you'll see that the notes that we had, they are now gone. And the reason for that is that React is a front-end library. Okay, it only deals with whatever we are doing on the front-end part of the entire web infrastructure. So if we want to save these nodes so that upon refreshing they still stay here, we can do so by using something like Node.js as backend and MongoDB as database, for example. But that is a topic for another day perhaps. So that was all for this particular session. I hope you enjoyed learning and building these little applications along with me, and the new stuff whatever we learned, and these little projects that we built. For example, that to-do list application, this to-do-ist that we have, although they sound a little bit similar, but you can see whatever the difference with them is. So with this session, this playlist of ours have came to an end, and I will offer my congratulations to you that now you have been on this journey, and now you can confidently say that yes, you are a React developer and you will be able to make some beautiful websites. All you need is a little practice and a little patience and a little Googling. So thank you all for pairing with me up till now, and I hope you have a nice day. Thanks.